We are back at He Said.
She Said.
And Annie's back. I'm Michael.
Hello, I'm Annie.
Hello, Annie. When we spoke last, we said we were going to talk about relationships not being 50-50. And I'm saying this, maybe you don't agree, but that I believe that relationships are 100-100. You put 100% of what you have to offer, and the other person puts 100% of what they have to offer. And that makes a perfect relationship if you're in the right relationship. So that brings up two things. One of them, let me explain the 100% thing. If you're a hardworking guy, you get a good job, you work hard for your money, but you're not real social. You're not real. You're not real intellectual. You don't go to the symphony. You don't do cultural things. You give 100% of what you have. You're just a guy. You mean well, you work hard, you provide for your relationship and your family. That's what you have to give. Mm-hmm. And if you're in a relationship with someone who is culturally intellectual, she's educationally stimulated, and they give 100% of what they have to give, you might have nothing in common. Mm-hmm. So you might just be in the wrong relationship, and 100% doesn't work. But 50-50 really doesn't work anyway, because you'll just end up being frustrated, and that's why the divorce rate is better than 50%. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you understand where I'm coming from? Mm-hmm. Okay. First off, I'm going to ask if you think, and there's no right or wrong answer, mm-hmm. if you think that giving 100% is just the perfect plan, hands down, no problems, or it gets a person into trouble where somebody's giving and the other person is always just taking.
That's a good question. Well, I guess it comes down to the personality, because, I mean, if you're just taking, that doesn't really compromise or make up a good relationship to begin with.
Obviously.
You don't have the proper skills to have a good social relationship with another person.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right, I agree.
So, I think I would have to agree with the 100%. Because you want to be able to give and receive 100%. And I want to say compromise is somewhere in there too, because, I mean, not everybody is going to always have that 100% of them that jives together with another person. You can be completely compatible with everything except for one thing. Mm-hmm. And you may be the same for the other person too. Mm-hmm. 100% of it, except for that one tiny little thing that you guys compromise on.
And hopefully it doesn't grow to a big, humongous fungus.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would have to agree with that, because I don't think there should be a 100% giver and a 100% receiver.
Definitely not.
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely not. And that's the thing. Definitely, it's clear that you can't have a relationship where one person gives everything, the other person takes everything. That's a really unsuccessful relationship, in my opinion. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, I think that's really unsuccessful. On the other hand, if you do the giving 50%, and taking 50%, and the other person gives and then takes 50%, your relationship is kind of based on the value of what you give weighted against what you get. So that's where my problem comes in with the 50-50 relationship. So by that I mean, if you give your hard-earned dollars, like we said in a previous podcast, and what you get from the other person is their domestic labor, you may not value their domestic labor as highly as you value your physical, literal labor out in the field. Now your 50-50 relationship is a grounds for resentment, and hence 50% divorce rate. So if you have a relationship, and this is very hard to manage, as we know, relationships are just very hard to manage. If you give 100% of whatever you have to give, and you're partnered with someone who says, wow, the things that you have to give are things that I don't do very well, or I'm not able to give those things, that's great, because that brings a whole lot into our relationship. I'll give 100% of what I have to give, and hopefully it's the things that you don't have strengths at, mm-hmm. and then we make a good partnership. That's what I'm talking about, 100-100, whether 50-50 mm-hmm. or 100% no percent.
Right.
I think it's all about resentment that festers in a relationship. And then you end up, you end up fighting over little things. And if you find that right person, that's the hard part. then you're on your way to having a happy and enjoyable, a drama-free relationship. Might be issues, might be one or two things that just don't mesh, but you don't feel so resentful that you don't want to put any effort into that because you resent all the other stuff too.
Yeah.
If it makes any sense, whatsoever. So to close out that whole resentment and giving and taking relationship, the flip side, a woman who is not getting the things that she usually gets from a guy, and again, this may end up sounding sexist, but I think that there's still a little sexism on this planet. A woman expects to have the support or the contribution of support, not necessarily the entire support of a man, but the contribution of the support. They don't expect and they're more and more stay-at-home dads, they don't expect to go out on a job and come home and the guy's at home doing nothing. They expect possibly that he's giving something at home. But I don't think the world right now is set up, and maybe you do, maybe you disagree. I don't think the world is set up right now for women being in a relationship with a guy who doesn't do anything and flipping the story, the quote, not doing anything, that women did in the 50s when they were just homemakers. They called it just homemakers, and that's a lot of work. But a guy being home, being a homemaker or stay-at-home dad, I don't think the world's ready for that because there's so much resentment still.
Right. Well, there's still so much of the population, the male population, that still is, 70 cents to the dollar is how much women make 70 cents to their dollar kind of thing. It's still that way as far as that goes. So the man would go out and work and make more money than the woman would. Not to mention they still have this ideal in their mind, as unsexist as our world is trying to turn into.
It's trying to.
They still have that in their mind that, I've got to do something as a man. I can do this or that.
Right.
And you almost never see in the labor trade a woman. So the world isn't ready for that yet.
Okay, let me ask you this. And this is kind of an awkward transition, but we had another conversation with a listener who's in her mid-30s, and she's going out into the world, back out into the world to date. And she's discovering the kind of different worlds that are out there. She's really more interested in finding a legitimate relationship with a possible good, next husband. But she runs across a whole lot of just one-night stands, a whole lot of people who are into, and what we talked about in a previous podcast, friends with benefits. Benefits, and play. So the younger dating crowd, let's say in their 20s, the mid-age dating crowd in their 30s and let's say 40s, and then the more mature crowd in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. There's a whole different world for all three of them. Generally, the older crowd doesn't just go out for a bunch of one-night stands.
Right.
And generally, the younger crowd doesn't look for that mate. They're looking for fun. So what do you think a person in their mid-30s is faced with? And how do you think they deal with it when they're trying to have a more mature relationship, but they're in a world of one-night stands and instant gratification?
I think there's a really hard happy medium in that, because if you're online dating, a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I'm on here because I want to get laid, basically. Or I'm on here because I'm hoping that I can find a social connection, but I'm really detached. You know what I mean? So you have those two different categories of people who are online doing that online dating thing, or Tinder, or whatever that is, whatever the dating, apps are out there. And then when you go out, you're like, do I go to a club where most people are drunk and they are looking for one night stands, or do I go, where do you go at that age? In that age group where you do find the one. So a lot of times we're faced with, how do I connect with the right person, that one? It's not like it is in the movies.
You're absolutely
where you're like, oh, I just happened to spot John at the grocery store. Because how many times are you really paying attention to, oh, that guy's really cute, or normally it catches your eye because of attraction.
Physical attraction.
Physical attraction is normally what you. hone in on the very first time. But
But by the way, don't mean to interrupt you, but some of the things that we discussed in previous podcasts is that physical attraction doesn't necessarily mean attractiveness. It just means what you're attracted to.
right,
Because you might have a guy who's huge, just big, buffed, and things like that, and some women don't like that. Or some guy who's
true.
very slender in the little skinny jeans or something like that, and some women think, oh, I don't like that at all.
tiny
So,
packages.
yeah, so it's about who you're attracted to that you see first. And you say, oh, I'm willing to open up a dialogue with that person because I'm attracted to that type of person.
Right.
And you're right. You don't usually have those kinds of encounters at the grocery store.
No. So the scene, you have to pick the right scene, I would suspect. And I don't know what that scene is, to be honest with you. So I don't know what I would tell this individual as advice for that.
Right.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's so much out there.
But you kind of do know what certain scenes provide the negative.
Right.
So, for example, if your friend is 38, 39 years old, was married, has a couple of kids, kind of serious about life, wants to have fun, but doesn't want to just be banged against the headboard once in a while by a different guy, she is more likely to find that one-night stand guy at a bar.
Right. Or a club.
At a club, yeah.
Online. Or...
Yeah. And there's some sites, I don't even know what they are. Are you familiar with the sites that are dating sites and the sites that are hookup sites?
Yeah.
Because
unfortunately.
That'd be cute. Maybe, well, I don't know if we should name names, but I know that traditionally Match or eHarmony.
Those are the serious ones.
They seem to be a little bit more serious. The one for older adults, I can't remember what that one's called. Then the one they were advertising about, farmers only or something like that. Those are intended to be actual
connections without being in a physical location.
Relationship connections rather than connections.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then there's Tinder. There's another one with a woman's name, Ashley Madison. That's supposed to be a hookup site. Tinder's a hookup hookup site.
There was one called like Bumblebee or something weird.
I think it's called Bumble.
I said Bumblebee, but I was close.
That was the one. I never heard of that, where you go there to find
friends with benefits,
MILFs,
and MILFs,
and MILFs, whatever. And for those of you out there, there's a whole world of acronyms and abbreviations. There's MILFs and GILFs. There's FWBs, friends with benefits. There's MILF is mothers. I'd like to, and GILFs are grandmothers. I'd like to.
Oh wow, I didn't hear that one.
GILFs,
you just educated me with that.
And the interesting thing about it is that back when I was young, really young, a grandmother was somebody in their 50s. Oh my God, that was an old woman. But as I got into my 50s, that ain't so old. That's a young woman now. So, but anyway, so people go and they sign up for a site that targets whatever it is they're looking for. So would you recommend, not necessarily personally, but just theoretically, that a dating site is not a bad idea as compared to going to a bar or a club?
Let's face it, the world nowadays, you sometimes have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to make ends meet, especially here in California because it's so expensive. So it's not uncommon for a very legitimate, nice person to go on a dating website to look for somebody of their class or of their,
their prepreference.
Thank you. I was trying to think of the word.
Yeah, I'm trying to be non-judgmental.
Exactly. Of their preference. So, I think that's a start, especially for someone who is running into a wall when they do go out. When they do go to a bar, it's hit or miss. You may find somebody who's of your caliber, or you may not, or you may just get those ones that breathe down your neck and are completely wasted and can't even stand up straight. Right. And then you're like looking for an out for a second you get. So I think it's a start.
When we get back, let's talk about other clubs and organizations that people meet and mingle who have particular preferences. sometimes they're a little bit odd preferences. So join us on our next He Said.
She Said.
All right. Again, I'm Michael.
And Annie.
Annie, thanks for joining us again.
You're welcome.
Joining us again.